This morning on KLMJ, we'd like to welcome Charley Pride. Charley, how you doing?
Well, this morning I'm talking to people like yourself on various different radio stations, and of course thanking you too for playing me, still playing the old fella on the radio.
Well, I tell you what, Charley, we've enjoyed your music over the past, all the hits, and especially, I guess you could say this would be your signature song, Kiss an Angel Good Morning. And Charley, do you kind of remember how you even got the song?
I really don't. It's kind of hazy because my ex-manager's wife said she's the one that the last time I talked to her, she's the one that the reason I got it. So if that's it, then that I'll use that one. But I just do remember when I got it, I loved it, and I couldn't hardly wait to get in the studio to do it. I had no idea it would do as well as it did, but I just liked the lyrics and everything.
Well, it's still getting a lot of requests, Charley, and of course that song was also a million-selling crossover single and got you some awards, including CMA Entertainer of the Year.
Yeah, I was male vocalist and entertainer of the year in '71, and then male vocalist again in '72.
Charley, as we talk this morning, we want to talk about many of your career achievements. One of those is invitation to join the Grand Ole Opry back in '93. Now, this was 26 years after you first played as a guest on the Opry, and I'm sure that must have felt really good to be a member of the Opry.
Yeah, see, what happened is a lot of people ask, why was it so long before you became a member? But I want to point out that it was always a standing invitation to be on the Opry from the time that Ernest Tubb brought me on in 1967, January the 1st. And but my manager at that time, and only manager that I had at that time, Mr. Jack Johnson, said to me, they had a criteria of you had to do at least 26 Saturdays out of a year. Back in those days, he said he just didn't want to tie up the best days of work, that you can get, which is 26 Saturdays for a whole year. Not that he had anything against the Opry, but it was an economical thing. And so I didn't argue with him. But then in 1993, my wife came to me. She said, there ain't no criteria. Nothing. You're going to join the Opry. So that's the way it came about.
And the Opry has been a great home for you, hasn't it?
Oh, I love playing. In fact, we just booked 2 more shows, one in October and one in November coming up.
Well, another thing, Charley, back in '99, it looks like here, that you had your own star put on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now, that must have been great.
Yeah, it was. I remember going out there and watching the place where they were going. We were staying at the Roosevelt Hotel, and it's not far from there. And I went out there and just took a look at it before the ceremony started. And so then we did the ceremonies and everything. And I tell people, I've only been back there once since I've got to go back and take a look at it since it happened. And I tell people, where the best way to go if they stay at the Roosevelt Hotel to cross over when they come out the front door to cross over the street and then go left. My star is between Gladys Knight and Leonard Bernstein. That's how I remember where it's located.
Well, Charley, another thing I know, this was very special to you. Back in 2000, you were honored with the, as you could say, the highest country music award that was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. And it looks like here you were announced by Hall of Famer Brenda Lee.
I had no idea, and I couldn't say nothing. I just stood there and started to cry. And the way it happened, I got to tell you, see, I went into Hall of Fame, Farron Young and I went in together. And he was sitting there, so young fella from Louisiana, and blah, 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 you're going through all of this. And I saw that him and Brenda Lee had a sheet that they were reading from, had a piece of paper. I said, well, where's my paper? They want me to talk to. So Brenda's standing beside me, and she says, well, all they want you to do is to mention what's the difference between the old Hall of Fame and the new one. You don't need no paper for that. I said, well, I guess I can do that. So he gets through talking about Farron, and then she goes up. She said, these are times when you need your bifocals because you got this age, something like that, she said. And I got my 2 grandboys with me, and I'm standing there, and so she starts off, well, he was born in Flash, Mississippi, bought his first guitar from Sears Roebuck, and I went, ooh. I went just like that, ooh. And even now, I'm telling you, Mike. Bumps, you know how what they call bumps come up on your arm. As I'm telling you now, they're right there now. And when this happened, you know, and she said, I said, oh my goodness. And my wife was aware of it for a whole month. And I don't know how she keeps these things, but I went limp. You know, so that's what I remember about when Brenda Lee said me, you know, I mean, it just was something else.
Well, that was really something, Charlie. And, of course, this year, one thing that's been good for you is you released a brand new CD. Let's talk a little bit about the song that recently was out called Except for You. Now, this song, if I'm not wrong, is written by Ben Peters. He made a lot of hits written for you over the years, including Kiss an Angel, Good Morning. And how did this song come about?
Well, his wife. What happened, we hadn't had what we call a regular release out in quite some time. The last one was Comfort of Her Wings. We've had a gospel album called Charley Pride Sing Gospel Collection of Charley Pride Enjoy the Gospel Collection of Charley Pride, I believe is the title of it. A regular release album we hadn't, and I didn't realize it had been that long. And the reason it took kind of that long, we were ready to go with one about a year or so ahead. So my wife said, look, let's just go back and see if we can get even some more better songs than we got for the album you're getting ready to release now. So we went back, and it's sort of like I call it now when I'm on stage and talking to people like yourself. So we kind of went back to the well, and that's what you just mentioned about Ben Peters. Yeah, he wrote that one. He wrote Burgers and Fries. I've recorded quite a lot of his songs, and of course Crystal Chandeliers, and of course I recorded a song called. We never did release it, but it's called "The Hand That Rocks the Cradle." I gave it Glenn Campbell and Steve Warner, and they both of them they recorded. But Glenn came while I was with RCA and put his voice on there, but RCA wouldn't let the song go. So I said, Glenn, you want it? I mean, you know, I gave it to him where he could learn it, and that. So him and Steve Warner had a real nice hit on it. But yes, Except for You was written by him, and that's the single that they came to. The title of the album is called Choices. And when we say going back to the well, Crystal Chandeliers, the title of the album was written by the guy that wrote Crystal Chandeliers, which was Ted Harris. And I've got about 3 of his in there, and I've got about 2 or 3 of Ben's in there. Of course, Ben's son, I got one in there by his son, Ben Peters' son, called Bottom Line. So it's a really good album called Choices.
And Charlie, another song that's really great was America the Great. I know that's something special for you, too.
Yeah. Now, I got that one from a guy. It's the 2 brothers that sing up in Canada, the Mercy Brothers. John, my booking agent, came and handed me that song. I said, man, I want to cut this. And so it's the first one on the album. And I like the lyrics of it. It's just Washington and Jefferson. I wonder what they'd say. They came back and seen the change in the USA. It's just the lines. I like them.
Charlie, why don't you tell the story about how you became a part of the group to buy the Texas Rangers?
I was in Ireland, and I got this call, and my booking agent John said to me, he said, "You got a call that's just come in from Nolan Ryan." I said, "Yeah." He said he's trying to put together a group to buy the Texas Rangers. Said, wonder if you'd be interested in being a part of it. I said, I believe I'd be interested in being a part of it. That's the way that all came about. So when I got back from Ireland, we all the things that we went through waiting, and of course I think the last one was trying to bid whether it was Cuban, Mark Cuban, but we ended up with it. So, but we got plastered last night by Boston, just 13-2. They made us look bad. So, but Uganda's going tonight. We'll see what happens.
All right, Charlie. Another thing we want to remind people that you do have a Facebook as well as a website. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was just checking. They said I got almost 10,000 on there right now, and I said, well, and then I heard that Taylor Swift has 21 million. I said, oh, man, just give me 10 million. I'd like to get half of that, and that'd be real nice. And I'd sure like to have as many sign up for it as we can get.
One more thing before we let you go. I know you were on Country Family Reunion. I bet that was a lot of fun to do that.
Well, I tell you, I love doing that because you get to, you get there and it gets to shoot the breeze with so many of fellow peers, because most artists now, they kind of work all by themselves. There's no big packages like it used to be. So that's why I love doing the opera. You get a chance to see so many that you don't get to see, And that's what I like about the family reunion. You can sit there and hear so many things that you did. Oh, I hadn't heard of that. I had no idea that had happened. And that kind of thing.
Well, Charlie, it's been great visiting with you this morning as we're playing all your music this morning, all the great hits, plus some of the new stuff that you've had out. And I know you have a lot of fans out there. Before we leave, what would you like to say to all the great fans of yours?
I want to thank them again and again and again for all of their support, and I do still love them, and I hope that I can get my movie off the ground where I can draw even more people than that I'm drawing now in a different venue. Maybe venues get a little bigger, so maybe this will help me get to sing to even more of my fans.
All right, Charlie. Great visiting with you.
Thank you now.
Charley Pride here on KLMJ.